And our next guest has completed around 15 years of research and can show us scientifically proven ways we can live more happy. Please welcome to Studio 10, Dr. Darren Morton. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, we saw that recently Australia was ranked as one of the top 10 happiest countries in the world, but recent stats have also showed that around 10% of Aussies take antidepressants. So how does that make sense?
How does that make sense? Well, look, in some ways this is actually a good statistic in that what it indicates is that people who need help are seeking help. So that's a really positive thing, and I need to stress that. However, it still really grieves me that 1 in 10 Australian adults, our fellow Aussies, are obviously struggling emotionally. And so, look, there are a lot of factors that are contributing to that. I think the stresses of modern living really take its toll. The good news is that there are many positive other things that we can also do to help us to feel happier, for want of a better word.
I'm one of those Aussies who takes antidepressants, and it's helped my life enormously, and I continue to take them. But also I'm always looking for other ways too of balancing my life and looking at how I can lead my happiest life. You've written a book about how we can do that. What are some of the tips?
All right, where do we start? So time is limited, but I mean, one of the key strategies is I call motion creates emotion. Actually, can I conduct a little experiment here?
Sure.
So try this. All right, so I need you to hold your hand out like this, point your finger, close your eyes, and now guide your finger, without opening your eyes, guide your finger back to the tip of your nose. Bingo, you've all done it. You're all gifted kinesthetically, obviously. You can open your eyes. But, why is it that we actually have this ability when we can't see or hear to know where our body parts are in relation to each other? And the reason for that, we actually have millions of tiny little sensors distributed throughout our body. You can take your hand down.
Oh, sorry, I was just waiting to feel happy.
Hasn't worked yet? That's good. But what we know is that you have tiny nerves distributed throughout your body that feed information up to your brain to tell your brain where your body parts are in relation to each other and how they're moving. And these little nerves send messages through the part of your brain responsible for your emotional state.
Well, is happiness genetic? Is it something we inherit? Do we inherit happiness through our genes somehow?
Oh, there's definitely an element to that. So we actually know that happiness is probably up to 50% genetically determined.
Really?
So this is why there are some people who are naturally more cheery, and we know these characters. What's intriguing is that probably a lot less of our happiness is attributed to circumstances than we might imagine. Probably only about 10% of our happiness is attributed to how good looking we might be, or these other other factors. But what it means is probably about half of our happiness we get to choose. And so through strategies like I was just explaining, motion creates emotion. When you move in a dynamic way, salsa, right? When you
That is true. That is absolutely true. And I was going to say, like Jess, I'm one of the 1 in 10 who takes antidepressants, and that's why I'm so happy. But you've got a list of other things you can do, other tips to get people happy. Yeah. So take us through some of those.
Okay. Look, number one, motion creates emotion. I think this is pivotal. In fact, I would say... Well, it's not just exercise, because many people, when I say the word exercise, I watch their eyes roll into the back of their head and go, that means pain and sweat. And it doesn't need to mean that. We know that just moving in a dynamic way for less than 10 minutes is enough to lift your mood.
I love going on water slides.
Exactly. Yeah, and getting outside. I know in terms of if I get sunshine on my face and fresh air, it makes me feel better.
I run every day, and if it wasn't for that, I would be an absolute basket case. What's the second one we've got there?
Second one, blue and green should often be seen, as you've just indicated, Jess. What we know is that the science here is overwhelming, that when people immerse themselves in uplifting physical environments, in green and blue spaces, there is something incredibly
therapeutic. Water and sky, is that what you mean?
Water, green spaces, natural sunlight. There are studies actually indicating that getting adequate exposure to bright natural light is as effective for relieving depression as antidepressants.
And you've got the tip, together feels better. Do you mean being socially active? Having friends?
Together feels better. We know that happiness is a collective phenomenon. 3 degrees of separation, the science shows. So if someone in a social network becomes happier, the friends of their friends' friends will increase the likelihood of them being happy as well.
Wow.
And your next tip, feeling follows your focus.
Yeah, the science, once again, very, very strong in this regard, is that what we focus on affects how we feel.
Right.
And so when people do things like express gratitude, You know, focus on things that went well that day. We know that it's incredibly uplifting for them.
A lot of people say that happiness is gratitude. And the final tip you've got there is giving is living, because I live to give.
Good on you, brother. Keep doing that.
What does that mean?
What I can tell you, I've literally studied, and I have PhD students working in this space. I've dedicated years of my life to this, and what I can tell you is at the end of the day, if you want to become happier, one of the most evidence-based and effective things you can do is set about making someone else happier. Now, there seems to be this law that governs our emotional well-being that says that you reap what you sow.
Yep.
And so, hey, on International Happiness Day, I would love to challenge everyone to do just that.
Yeah.
You know, what could you do to lift someone else? There's an ancient Quaker proverb that
I reckon I
says...
could probably pick up Jess.
Yeah. You can
What's the, what's the
Here we go.
ancient- What's the ancient Quaker proverb?
The ancient Quaker proverb says, I'll lift thee, and you'll lift me, and we'll ascend together.
Thank you so much. That's a great way to end the segment. If you'd like to learn more about how you can live a happy life, you can pick up a copy of Darren's fantastic new book at a bookstore near you.